welcome. I hope that you're doing well. My name is UHDking, or I play 4K, aka I play 8K, aka I play 16K. And during this video, I introduce a benchmark of Mafia 2 PC game versus Mafia 2 Definitive Edition. So it's much newer game engine, okay? While Mafia 2 was classic. I gave away over UHDking official YouTube channel, UHDking.com, Mafia Classic long time ago, and in May, June 2025, I gave away a lot of licenses of Mafia 2 Definitive Edition that's going to include the Mafia 2 Classic. Okay, Mafia 2 Classic on Steam having some issue. Okay, and I'm going to create in the another video how to fix Mafia 2 Classic on Steam. So when you're gonna try to install Mafia 2 Classic and run it, it's not going to run. So there is a fix. I'm going to introduce you the fix over official UHDking.com YouTube channel. UHDking, go ahead and check it out. So guys, you saw the 8K video resolution Mafia 2, which is classic or legacy game, and Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, which is kind of the same engine that powering Mafia 1 Definitive Edition. Alright, let me real quick go ahead and show you the specs that I was running today, and by the end of this video I'm going to include additional bonus. I'm gonna just split the screen and we're gonna compare the visuals as well as FPS side by side. Okay, I decided to show you the whole screen, and then I'm gonna split the screen, okay? And I'm gonna put the Mafia Classic on the left and Mafia Definitive Edition on the right. So Titan RTX video card, a flagship video card by the Nvidia from 2018. It's a flagship Turing GPU architecture by Nvidia GPU, which is TU102. Same GPU as in Quadro RTX 6000 video cards and Quadro RTX 8000 video cards. Quadro RTX 8000 video card was $8,000 in 2018, the most expensive video card, okay? Featuring 4608 Nvidia CUDA cores, GDR6 video RAM, which is the 24,576 megabytes or 24 gigabytes. Okay, Titan RTX was running completely stock, but 100% fan rotation and maximum quality and highest performance possible. So everything was at maximum utilization. Okay, single Titan RTX is installed. Mafia 2 Classic version on Mafia 2 Legacy version, it's called Mafia 2 Classic to be honestly, supporting Nvidia SLI. Okay, Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, I'm not sure yet, I didn't test it, but Nvidia SLI under Mafia 2 Classic version will demonstrate almost twice FPS that you saw. So 8K video resolution will be replayable almost by 2 times FPS. Okay, but right now only single Titan RTX installed on this system. I just paused the system. I was doing the AI, artificial intelligence. I'm creating a project at home, artificial intelligence, that pretty soon I'm going to share with you as my image services by AI. By Artistic Bytes by UHDking. So another reason for you to thumbs up and subscribe, and also guys, please support me. I also tested the Mafia 2 Classic version in 16K video resolution with 2 RTX 2080 Ti video cards in SLI, and with 2 Titan RTX in SLI, and single Titan RTX under 16K video resolution. So it's going to be nice to see what is the difference in terms of the FPS. So the CPU I was also using from 2018, which is Intel Core i9 9900K, overclock at 5 gigahertz or 5000 megahertz per every single core. Energy saving mode disabled, so it's running constantly 5 gigahertz plus minus 10 megahertz. 8 physical cores, 16 logical threads, so hyper-threading technology is also enabled. Also, my AVX2 instruction frequency is 5 gigahertz or 5000 megahertz, keep that in mind. ASUS Z390 chipset, Maximus 11 Hera, as you can see. Memory 32 gigabytes, 4 sticks 8 gigabytes, DDR4, 3200 megahertz. Okay, you will tell me 3200 megahertz for DDR4 is not that best when it comes to DDR4. However, guys, I'm running CL11, not CL18, not CL16, like 3200 megahertz CL16 or CL14. It's not even CL13 or CL12. CL11 1T command, very crazy. And I decreased the latency, the timing between communication between the processor and system RAM DDR4. It's below 45 nanoseconds. So from 65 nanoseconds, which is 3200 megahertz CL18, I 40 below 45 nanoseconds. And S stands for the nanoseconds, and throughout our benchmark you saw the MS. MS was standing for the milliseconds. The low value is better. Megabytes and gigabytes, the higher value is better. This read, write, and copy bandwidth almost 50 gigabytes per second on the DDR4, so this is very fast at 3200 megahertz because CL11. But if I'm going to increase my frequency on the DDR4, I'm going to increase my read, write, and copy bandwidth. So you will tell me, UHDking, which one is better? Bandwidth or latency? Well, pretty much it's easy to find out which one is better, especially when you're trying to squeeze every single performance out of your system, even if you're building the system used with DDR4 and equipment not from 2025. Today is June 2025, to be exact, June 7, 2025. Let me show it to you guys right here. See that? All right, it's evening, Saturday. So which one is better? Pretty simple. You overclocking your DDR4, find the best stable frequency, and overclock your latency delay, the lowest possible clock. Then you're gonna open the either 64 cache memory benchmark. You're gonna bench it, and you're gonna take read, write, and copy. You're gonna summarize it like read plus write plus copy, and just add to it, and then divide it by latency, okay, and result, which is equal to the higher number, will be the best. Okay, so you can play, play with the latency, lowest latency possible, play with the highest frequency possible, find out your result. The higher result will be the best, and then manipulate it to get the highest result. Maybe a little bit more frequency, a little bit more latency, but this is the best, guys, especially for this memory, because they're using the Micron technology chips, and Micron technology chips doesn't like to go above 4000 megahertz when it comes to DDR4. So if you want to go 5000 megahertz and above when it comes to DDR4, you want to use the Samsung B die chips. Even if this is the fastest Corsair DDR4 memory, which Corsair rated for 5000 megahertz CL18, I have a little bit doubt about it, because as again they're using Micron technology chips, and it's kind of struggling go above 4000 megahertz. It's not stable, and Samsung B die chips on DDR4 will be the best. It's not the case on DDR5, DDR6, but DDR4 Samsung B die chips, if you want to push it, like G-Skills even push it to 5200 megahertz, because they were using Samsung B die chips. Somehow the Corsair went with Micron technology chips, but Micron technology chips, when it comes to DDR4, loves the lowest latency, and I believe I utilize it the best as possible. Dual channel 128-bit. Also my encore frequency is overclocked to 47 multiplier. I find out 47 multiplier or 48 multiplier doesn't give any difference, but 48 multiplier is a little bit unstable. 47 multiplier is stable as rock. Okay, and every single 4 sticks, as you can see, like that. Graphics will be, of course, Titan RTX running completely stock. This is how the stock frequency, 24 gigabytes, GDR6 by Samsung, 384-bit bus, and the benchmark on the single thread and the multi-thread under CPU-Z I did for you. So 8 physical cores and 16 logical threads scored as 10 physical cores. This is very nice result. Let me real quick go ahead and compare it with all kind of legendary CPUs right here real quick, so you can have a clue. But when we're talking PC games, we're looking at the single thread performance. When we're talking like video encoding, 3D rendering, especially like 3ds Max, while you're rendering on a CPU, Cinema 4D when you're rendering on a CPU, or Blender applications will utilize or 128 CPU physical cores. So you're looking at the multi-thread performance benchmark. When we're talking games in 2025 or older, even in 2026, you're looking at the single thread performance. The higher single thread performance, the better. Okay, guys? So I'm gonna real quick go ahead and show you all kind of different CPUs. I'm pretty sure if you're building computers from used parts, you're pretty familiar with those CPUs, and some of you guys running those CPUs, so you can see the difference, my system versus your system. And even if you don't have the Titan RTX, so you kind of can imagine what kind of results you can get with Titan RTX. And Titan RTX is still such a great video card. It's, you know, like an old wine, and 24 gigabyte of video RAM is helping it a lot. And it's especially amazing video card when it comes to AI, guys. And this is actually the first best video card when it comes to AI, because that 24 gigabyte of video RAM. Keep that in mind. Alright, I showed you all the CPUs, so you kind of know the information about that. I also did the EDA64 cache and memory benchmark and EDA64 GPU benchmark, while I compared the GPU and video RAM GDDR6 versus the CPU and DDR4 system RAM. Okay, as you can see, read and rate is kind of pretty bad when it comes to video RAM, because video RAM and GPU is prepared for only copy, do a lot of copies in parallel mode, while a DDR4 as a system RAM gonna be almost the same, read, write, and copy. Okay, this is what CPU does, but as you can see, the GPU and video RAM dominating when it comes to copy. Okay, by over 12 times. GDDR6 faster than DDR4, so keep that in mind. It's very crucial if you're not going to overload your video RAM, and if you're not going to load the data into the system RAM, because the video RAM GDDR6 is over 12 times faster than DDR4 system RAM. Okay, because system RAM is 50 gigabytes per second, or 50,000 megabytes per second at its best, while the video RAM will be, even at stock, 672 gigabytes per second. GDDR6X is 1 terabyte or 1000 gigabytes per second, but it's going to be in the next generation of the GPUs and video cards by the Nvidia, such as Nvidia EDA and Nvidia Ampere GPU architecture, such as Nvidia Ampere GPU architecture will be 1000 gigabytes per second GDDR6X, as well as Nvidia EDA GPU architecture, which is 1000 gigabytes per second or 1 terabyte per second GDDR6X, which is RTX 4090, and Nvidia Ampere flagship is RTX 3090 Ti. Okay, over this official UHDking YouTube channel, UHDking.com, I'm going to test those as well, not only in the games but also in AI. So guys, don't forget to smash the like button. A lot of time, money, energy is invested, and support me, guys, and hopefully you won those games, and if you did, let me know in the comments below, and test and provide your results. Do the same thing and just provide your results. Alright, guys, so as you can see, let me show you my NVIDIA control panel, and in about a couple minutes I'm going to split the screen, and I'm going to put at the left Mafia II Classic benchmark, and at the right Mafia II Definitive Edition benchmark, and we're gonna go side by side. Alright, so this is, guys, what's up. Let me show it to you. So this is how it was set. Okay, as you can see, DSR factor is off, okay, right here, and prefer maximum performance on the power management mode, so it means that it's going to utilize every single CUDA cores and apply as much voltage as necessary, okay, without any energy saving mode. So it's maximum performance. Alright, so pretty much this is how it is, and let me show you under the Nvidia utility. By the way, I hacked, guys, the Nvidia Shadowplay and Nvidia application, as you can see over here, and just like I hacked the GeForce Experience application before, it's kind of hackable. So this is kind of my performance right here, as you can see, right? Titan RTX was running a dual fan design stock cooler, and I didn't repaste this version. I have many of Titan RTXs, and this one is not repasted at all, running completely thermal compound paste by stock. But the best thermal compound paste on your GPU or CPU will be thermal compound pad, not paste, not liquid one. Pad is like a graphite kind of cloth you're putting on CPU or GPU, and then you're putting cooler on top. And the benefit of it that it's never messy, and it will last you a lifetime, will last you over 50 years because it will never dry out. It's like a piece of cloth. I recommend a thermal grizzly graphite thermal pad. It's beautiful. Alright, this is what I'm using on one of my Titan RTX because I used the liquid metal before and it dry out after 3 years. I'm owning the Titan RTXs since 2018. So if I'm going to test in 8K video resolution with 2 Titan RTX in Nvidia SLI, okay, on this system, as well as in the future we're gonna test all kind of different benchmark in Mafia II Classic and Mafia II Definitive Edition, all kind of GPUs, all kind of video cards, all kind of CPUs, all kind of PC systems, all kind of handheld devices. I'm about to build one of the best handheld devices as cheap as possible but as fast as possible that you don't want to miss. Another reason for you to thumbs up and subscribe. So we're gonna build a pocket PC that you can play games and you can also work on it, and it's going to be super mobile. It's going to be better than a laptop. All right, so stick around for that. So this guy's on the picture, this is exactly the system that I'm using, and my CPU is water cooled today with the Corsair H150i Pro. I'm about to replace the water cooler because water cooler will never last about 5 years because the pump will die. So make sure when you're building computers with water coolers, it's going to last you 5 years, and then you gotta replace. If you don't have a money to replace, if you're on very tight budget, then you want to go the air cooler, one of the best air cooler that's going to last you over 50 years. As you can see, I put, so this Corsair H150i Pro, I have already thermal grizzly thermal compound pad, and exactly as I advised to you to have, and it has 360mm radiator that you didn't see it on the image, and 3 Corsair fans. As you can see, I put on top that 200mm cooler master fan to cool down around the CPU because this area is a little bit hot and there is no air here, and it's gonna cool it down pretty nice. And system RAM right here is also overclocked like crazy, the voltage 1.65 volt to keep this like this crazy. But Micron technology chips love the high voltage. Samsung B-die chips doesn't like the high voltage when it comes to DDR4, but 1.65 is very high voltage when it comes to DDR4, but Micron is okay. Okay, Founders Edition completely untouched, as you can see, dual fan design. Alright guys, that's pretty much it. So you know how to Titan RTX perform. Go ahead and check out my Nvidia RTX 2080 Ti. Um, Two of them in SLI under 16K video resolution, 4K and 8K video resolution to compare, but pretty much Nvidia RTX 2080 Ti video card, when it's overclocked, it's going to match the Titan RTX running stock. Okay, all the key will be while using Titan RTX at 4K video resolution and above, just a video RAM. If video RAM utilization below 12 gigabytes, you can achieve the same results with NVIDIA RTX 2080 Ti video card because of having the 11 gigabyte of video RAM. But if the video RAM usage, as you saw, I show you the usage of video RAM and system RAM throughout our benchmark at the right top corner, throughout the benchmark. So if the video RAM is above 11 gigabytes, like 12 gigabytes and above 12 gigabytes, then you need to have at least 16 gigabytes to be able to use it nicely. And Titan RTX had no problem with 24 gigabyte of video RAM. Alright guys, pretty much that's it. Right now I'm gonna split the screen and I'm gonna show you. So I'm gonna edit this video, but the first part will be unedited, but right now I'm gonna edit it in the end. Okay, please watch this video as minimum in 4K UHD throughout your YouTube player. Switch to 4K UHD or 2160p, but I advise you for the maximum visuals, switch to EK UHD or 4340p, exactly as I was recording it, even on a Titan RTX video card, which is Turing GPU architecture in 8K UHD, while my Nvidia Shadowplay and Nvidia driver is hacked. Don't forget to smash that like button, support me, and very soon I'm going to show you how I'm hacking the Nvidia driver as my tutorial. As you know, my step-by-step tutorials are one of the best. I'm explaining for any newbie step by step. Alright guys, have a good morning, good day, good afternoon. My name is UHDking, aka I play 4K, aka I play 8K, aka I play 16K. Right now I'm splitting that screen for you as an additional bonus. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, check out my Mafia 3 and the newer Mafia, as well as Mafia 1 Definitive Edition. They're going to run pretty much the same engine as Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, till the next time.